Alright guys, for this next section we're going to go over file types, and in SolidWorks there are really three main file types that we use more often than not, and that is a part, an assembly, and a drawing. So we're going to quickly walk through all three of these. We're going to keep this pretty simple though as far as what it is. A part is a singular item, an assembly is multiple items that you're putting together, and a drawing is simply a schematic or a shop drawing or layout of what you are trying to create. So you could have a drawing of a part, you could have a drawing of an assembly. That's kind of how that works. So I'm going to do all three fairly quickly here. So when we open up a part, it's going to fire up this screen. You're going to get your workspace. You're going to get your planes here to create your part. You're going to have a sketch and a features menu, or your main elements that you're going to use within a part. And then when you go to File, Save As, it's typically going to default to saving as a .prt or a part file. Okay, and then you can name it as such. With the assembly, the first thing that's going to happen with an assembly is it's going to pop up and say, okay, open up your parts. Because what it's going to ask you to do is go ahead and start laying out all the parts that you want to put together in assembly. So that's why it automatically defaults to an open file, so you can then take a part and start putting it in there. So let me see if I have a part in here. I'm just going to grab one here. So it'll throw a part in there. From that part, I can then go in and I can insert other components. So I can go in and I can say, okay, I want to put that in, but I also want to put this other part in here. Okay, and so now that I have two parts in here, maybe I want to put those two parts together. So I'm going to go ahead and mate these two. I'm going to just do this element here to this element here. It's going to snap those two together, and now these two pieces are mated based on those two elements that I just put on there. Okay, and we'll go a lot deeper into assemblies later on. I just kind of wanted to give you a quick idea of what an assembly kind of is, and the file types for it though. So it automatically has you open a part, put a couple parts in, start putting it together. When you're done, you'll File, Save As, and this, yes, you want to rebuild it to save it. Just cleaning up the drawing. It's always going to default to saving as an assembly file. Now the big thing here is an assembly file and a drawing file are different than a part file in that they have like a parent-child relationship. So if, for instance, you create an assembly file and you have to send it to somebody, you can't just send them the assembly file. You have to send them the assembly file and all the parts that are associated with that, because when they go to open it up, the first thing that SolidWorks is going to do is go, okay, where are the parts? And they have to have a reference document to be able to pull from. It's the same thing with a drawing. If you send just the drawing, it's going to say, okay, what's that drawing made from? The workaround with the drawing most of the time is that when you are done with it, you'll not only save it as a drawing file, but also as a PDF, and I'll show you that in just a second. But that's the assembly file. When you go to File, New, and we do a drawing file, we go to a drawing file, sorry. The first thing that's going to pop up is the sheet format. So it's going to say, okay, well, what kind of sheet do you want to put this on? So what kind of piece of paper do you want to put your drawing on? Well, there's a whole bunch of different formats. Most of them are ANSI based. And the ABC refers to the actual size of the paper. So if you pull up an architectural A size paper, it's going to be an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Okay, so that's what this is. You have a portrait mode and a landscape mode. Either one you can put it in. And I'm going to just hit OK. It's going to go ahead and open that up, and the next thing it's going to do is have me browse for the piece that I want. Okay, so I browse for that piece, and now I can actually start laying out that piece. So right now I'm on front view. I'm going to put a preview on so you can see this. So it'll allow me to put in a front view, put in a top view, put it in the right side. We're just going to put in an isometric in there. And I can go ahead and make that isometric shaded. I can make these views have hidden lines visible. That way you can actually see all the elements going through there. So there's a lot of different things that we can do with these drawing sheets. When we're all done with them, File, Save As, we are going to save it as a drawing file. Now, again, like I was saying, the other workaround there is when you do this drop down, you can save it as a PDF. That way you can send it to somebody. The issue with sending a drawing file is that, again, it does have that parent-child relationship where if you don't send the actual part with the drawing file, they can't see anything. It'll just come up as a bunch of blank squares. But if you save it as a PDF is simply a picture of the element. Okay, so it'll take a picture of that entire sheet, send it over to them, which is very helpful. Okay, so that's file types that we're going to be using throughout the course of this practice here with Intro to SolidWorks. If you do have questions, please reach out to me.